Can you name any specific people harmed by these books?
Sure, I can name the black community that has been harmed by this book. So if you're asking me if I'm going to talk about Amir Johnson,
you don't say that.
In Bed-Stuy and say that he's been hurt by this book.
Community. Do know you're
How about
wrong.
we talk
You're
about books like the Sneetches that talk about?
You don't represent me. For you to sit here and say that is a lie.
I am definitely not trying to represent you. You are right.
You don't speak for the black community.
I am definitely not trying to represent you, but I can answer your question.
You are definitely a Democratic talking point.
I can answer your question. Look,
you don't speak for the black community.
Give me a first and last name. Look, we can go back and forth and yell all night. I didn't come here for that.
Because you can't give me a name.
Just like on the radio show, you got loud words, but no
Stop
experience.
Spreading racism.
So Republicans are getting bent out of shape again. What else is new? And have been losing their minds, crying about cancel culture all over Fox News and talk radio over the past few days because 6 Dr. Seuss books are being canceled by Dr. Seuss Enterprises and will no longer be published due to racist images of Asians and African Americans. This hasn't stopped people on the right from trying to lump this into their overall campaign against cancel culture. Before I play the first video, let me repeat something. According to the AP, Associated Press, this is a decision being made by the company started by Dr. Seuss's own family. They've been talking about doing this for some time now. This has nothing at all to do with cancel culture. That doesn't stop Sean Hannity from using his black guest that you're about to see as a proxy to attack a black professor who supports this move. Watch this mess, please.
Professor, what specifically do you object to?
I specifically object to images that depict Asians in a horrible light, that depict African people, black people in a horrible light, and this is something that Dr. Seuss has had a history of doing.
For people that haven't read them, tell us exactly the light that they're cast in. I haven't read these books. My kids are much older.
Well, when you talk about these particular books and you talk about the way they make Asians look, it's the classic example of what we call Orientalism, where they're made to look like they're exotic, where they're made to look like they are less than civilized. And that is also the case with the African characters who appear in the books. We have to understand that over 2,024 characters, 45 of them are non-white and 43 of them look like they're subhuman. And I believe that this company is making the right decision to respect how these people are viewed, especially look at what's happening right now. When you talk about hate crimes, the number 1, 2, and 3 targets are black, Jewish, and Asian people right now. And so we see that there's a correlation between the literature and what happens in society.
Leo.
You know, I just heard rhetoric. This is a continuation of the program that we had on your radio show. This professor will not tell us who's been harmed by these books. Let me give you some historical context. As a teacher, as a civil rights lawyer who knows what discrimination is, those books are historical books. Those books talks about the weaknesses, the flaws of this country and how this country has grown. I asked you on the radio show, and I asked you on national TV. You name me one person, first and last name, who's been harmed by any of these books. You cannot do it. You talk about racism. You tell me where this racism exists. The city, the state, the person in charge. How dare you come on this program and talk about racism? Talk about these books. Now, I'll ask you right now on national TV, give me the names of the people who have been harmed by these books. First and last name, so we can find out. Because I don't think you can name them. Go ahead, name them. On TV right now.
I think it was Julian Bond who said that America literally translates into.
Oh, there we go. Julian Bond. Julian Bond was not hurt by Dr. Seuss.
Hold on. I got a question.
For you. I got facts.
Professor, he asked you a fair question.
Yes, it's a fair question.
Is there anybody?
And I'm
because we just
hang
on, sir. We just heard from Michelle Obama and Barack Obama. Everything you need to know, you can learn in a Dr. Seuss book. Now, Leo's asking you a question. Can you name any specific people harmed by these books?
Sure, I can name the black community that has been harmed by this book. So if you're asking me if I'm going to talk about Amir Johnson,
you don't say that.
In Bed-Stuy,
you do
and say that he's been hurt by
the black
this book.
community. Do know you're
How about
wrong.
we talk
You're
about books like the Sneetches
you do not represent the black community. You don't represent me. For you to sit here and say that is a lie.
I am definitely not trying to represent you. You are right.
You don't speak for the black community.
I am definitely not trying to represent you, but I can answer your question.
You are definitely a Democratic talking point.
I can answer your question. Look,
you don't speak for the black community.
Give me a first and last name. Look, we can go back and forth and yell all night. I didn't come here for that.
Because you can't give me a name.
Just like on the radio show, you got loud words, but no experience.
Stop spreading racism.
All right, let me ask a
So can I tell you that? Look, I'm
No,
an MC
forget
as well,
about the
so
air.
if you really think you're going to out-battle me or like out-talk me, I'm just being respectful
anytime.
because that's how I was
Debate
raised. I don't
anytime.
know how
I'll
you were
debate
raised,
you. I'll
but I'm
debate
here
you
for a
anytime.
respectful conversation. And we can
now
go there
personal
any
attack.
other time of the night.
Personal attack. I'll debate you anytime.
as I
I'll debate
attempted
you
to say.
anytime. Show me the systemic discrimination. You got nothing to say.
You said you're a
just
civil
talking
rights
points.
lawyer?
Oh man, the over-the-top tap dancing by this self-proclaimed, quote, civil rights lawyer who knows what discrimination is so extreme. It's actually a little funny. Did you all notice the professor trying not to laugh, or he was trying not to smile too hard? He was probably holding back from laughing out loud based on how hilariously ridiculous this man named, I think, Leo Terrell was acting. The professor never said he speaks for the black community. He was saying racist images have hurt the black community, which is true. Okay, he didn't get he actually didn't get to finish his point because Leo kept yelling at him, which was the intention the entire time. And I'm glad he saw that, and he, instead of getting upset by it, he just thought it was a joke more than anything. But he kept asking him to name someone who has been hurt by the books. That's a classic red herring argument. Get the professor to attack some distraction that you've created, and if he can't or he won't play your game, then say, aha, see, you've lost the argument. No, I'm glad the professor didn't fall for that bait. Leo Terrell's job was to cause a distraction away from an argument around racism within cartoons and media. And frankly, people's support for those racist images. Here's another clip from Glenn Beck where he's actually claiming removing these books from circulation is, quote, fascism. Wow, fascism. Take a look at this and watch this clip and be absolutely stunned by it.
They have now banned 6 books from Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss. You can no longer print these 6 books. If I Ran a Zoo, and I think I saw it on Mulberry Street, Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Egg Super, The Cat's Quizzer. This according to a panel of educators and experts. They are banning Dr. Seuss books. How much more do you need to see before all of America wakes up and goes, this is fascism? This is fascism. You don't destroy books. What is wrong with us, America? Go out and buy those books today. Find out if you can get them. Buy Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, because it's the end of an era. It is the end of freedom in America, where you are bullied to the point to where you better not have that book.
This man called it the end of an era, the end of freedom. Really, Dr. Seuss? I don't know. This clip is funnier than the first one. He actually told his audience to buy Mr. and Mrs. Potato Heads as what? Some weird form of activism? What is problematic is him telling his audience to buy the racist books. You see, that's what they're really defending. You see, this gets into my overall opinion on this latest front in the struggle against cancel culture from the cancel culture warriors, the CCWs, which that's my new name for them, who are sounding the alarm, rallying the troops to defend 6 Dr. Seuss books. That's the front, Dr. Seuss. Do these people not realize Dr. Seuss wrote something like 60 books? The 6 that Dr. Seuss Entertainment are pulling aren't even his worst. It's not even his worst work. There's an image floating around that I saw on Twitter earlier, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to cover this topic today, because the image actually is from a book, if I'm not mistaken, it's definitely from Dr. Seuss, where he jokes about lynching. I kid you not. Okay, he doesn't actually use the word, but it's heavily implied, right? When you look into Dr. Seuss's history, this is a man who performed, blackface in a high school production. Okay, he was inspired by a racist book called The Whole Book, HOLE. I've never heard of that before. Please don't look it up because I don't know what you're gonna find. But it's supposedly, based on the article I read, it supposedly featured a racist image of a black woman depicted as a mammy eating a watermelon. So that's what Dr. Seuss was reading in his early years, in his young years. In the 1920s, Dr. Seuss drew literal cartoons that used the whole N-word. Now, apparently, Dr. Seuss, quote, apologized for the extremely racist cartoons he made in his early years, but he died in 1991, so more than likely what really happened was he realized that the times were changing and his older material wasn't marketable anymore. So to save his fortune and his company and his livelihood and his reputation, he had to apologize. That's more than likely how it went down. Okay, because money trumps all, right? I'm not saying that he didn't actually have a an eye-opening moment. I'm not saying he didn't change, but let's be honest, it was more than likely the money, even though that is speculation on my part. But my name is Brian Lewis. That's all I have to say about this particular story. Please like this video, share, and subscribe.